'Twas the week before Christmas, and all through the house, women were freaking out because they haven't got their shopping done. Every year, panic mode strikes, and we often feel like we haven't bought enough, or maybe that we should expand our giving list by adding obscure people we don't really know. So let's talk about that. Nancie Taylor, Senior Wealth Advisor at Meridian Credit Union, is here to encourage us to press pause on the present panic button so that we can slow down and think big picture. Welcome back to the show, Nancie.
Thank you for having me. Great to be back.
I think this is when usually it all falls apart. We have a plan and then we don't stick to it. So what's the importance of sticking to it at this point?
Just keeping you on track. It's so easy with online shopping and everything to get out of control, out of sight, out of mind. So determining how much you have to spend on your household and your expenses and your kind of longer term saving, really kind of narrowing in on what the difference is and looking at how much of that do we want to budget to each of our loved ones during this gift giving season, for sure. So having your plan and sticking to it is really key. I want to talk to you a little bit about online shopping because I feel like this is the area that's really blown up over the last year, and Americans are spending like $1 trillion on online in 2022. And in 2021, I think it was something like 22 billion of that was online inflation. So understanding what our prices are before we actually hit yes is really essential for long term, making sure you don't kind of get out of control.
And it
So,
is so easy to shop online. I mean, I've victim to it myself, because I think, well, this is a little bit more, but then I don't have to get in my car. I don't have to go from store to store to make sure they have it. And so instead of being patient and maybe scoping out the sales, I go for the easy route.
100%. And we all do it. So staying focused on what that need is that you're online looking for is really important because they've gotten really good at marketing us and distracting us so we can get caught in the weeds when we're online. So really stay focused on, tell yourself before you go online, this is what I'm going online to shop for, and then shut it down. That's a really good tip to use. And halt, never go online when you're hungry, when you're angry, lonely, or tired, because then we just make really bad decision making during those times.
And can I just add, and also when you're drinking wine, ladies, because a lot of people have been surprised.
Oh yes, oh yes. I mean, it's there's a magical level of convenience when you're shopping online from home, and you want to make sure it's so easy. You just plug in a couple buttons, and it magically appears a couple days later outside your house. So you want to make sure that your credit card bill isn't going higher than what your recycling currently looks like in your garage. So it's really, really important. Another really good tip is to really treat your credit card more like hard cash. And this is a really hard one. When you're online and you buy something, um, a really good tip would be to pay it off right away, or set yourself a diary note that you go on maybe the following week and pay it off. And it really starts changing your mindset that this credit is really cash. There's really should be no difference. It's just convenience. So that I find really helps with a lot of my clients. Another really good tip is to really be careful with those online coupons because they're really earmarked to make you shop for more. So they'll say, 5 left, shop now, or they'll say if you spend another $100, you get your free shipping. So these are all really good marketing strategies that have been proven to work quite well. So being aware of that, I think, is really essential.
And I think this is like bringing in sort of new neural pathways when we shop. This is a little bit of psychology in this because when we used to have to go to a store, there was the process of pulling out the credit card, paying for it at the machine, all of taking a receipt. All of these
Yeah.
things have now shifted to an online version. So we have to create the pathways where we're recognizing that we're spending this money.
Yeah, and understanding the prices of what you're online looking for, because just because it's on one site and it's discounted doesn't mean it's not cheaper on another site. So you actually have to be really aware when you're online shopping that you're getting the best possible price because of this higher inflation online shopping is offering right now.
Before we started this interview, you and I were talking about how what we do right now really will snowball into the new year. And we want to really keep that top of mind. So let's shift to, if we fall off the rails now, what that might look
Yeah.
like for our budget. And if we stay focused, what that might look like.
Yeah, because planning for tomorrow starts before today, right? This is really key. Like everybody gets to this point where they start panicking right now. But the word budgeting that nobody likes to hear is really should be an all year strategy. So it's actually good we're meeting in December to chat about this because they can start fresh in the new year with making sure they're successful. So the good news is that you have to give up less today to buy more in the future. So that's the good news. The earlier you start, the less lifestyle you have to give up today. And that's proven. An example of that is if you save $100 today at 6%, in 10 years, that will be $180 worth of spending. But if you save $100 today at 6%, in 20 years, that's $320 in spending. So the earlier you start, the better and the more spending that you'll have, or the less that you have to give up today of disposable cash flow. That's really the bottom line with budgeting, and just keeping it current and revisiting it, because like this year with inflation being so high, you have to revisit the budget because things like groceries cost more, and things like services cost more. So making sure you're keeping that budget current. And there's so many great online apps that you can use. A real good rule of thumb is the 50-15-5% rule. So 50%, you shouldn't spend more than 50% of your after-tax income on essentials. And then you take 15% of pre-tax income, and that goes to more longer-term saving. And then 5% of your after-tax income is what you have as an emergency fund for your budget and things that go, things that change year to year that you don't have control with. So that's kind of a really good rule of thumb that a lot of advisors recommend. But there's really great apps out there for budgeting. We have a really great one here at Meridian as well, that can kind of keep you on track. It's a lot of work to get it initially up and running, but to maintain it is a lot easier. And it gives you a really good visual around where your money's going and how we're
Yeah, I
spending
like
it.
that we're talking about this now in December as well, because I think oftentimes we get to January 1st and we haven't sat back and actually thought about what we want the new year to look like financially, mentally, emotionally, physically. We sort of go into, oh my gosh, I gotta figure out what I'm doing this year on January 1, where we should be doing it right now, which is why this
Yeah.
conversation is so great. Another thing we talked about, and I just had no idea, you blew my mind with this before we started this interview, was what it means for wealth when we actually work with a financial advisor. There's actual data to back this up, and I think people are going to be amazed by this. So could you share that?
Yeah, it's a great stat that came out of Fidelity, who deals in North America. So um, if you work with a financial advisor, say over a 4-year period, you're 1.7% wealthier by doing that. But over a longer period of time, maybe a 15-year period of time, you're 4 times wealthier working with a planner, because it's so overwhelming for people. Life's busy. And when you work with a planner, they keep you, number one, it takes the burden off you going at it alone. It simplifies things. It takes some of the emotion out of it. It simplifies it, and it's a really good source of discipline for the person at the other end of the table. So you're not, you're kind of partnering and working on, and then celebrate the successes together. You're doing a good job when your clients are calling you and asking you, I want to make this big purchase. How is this going to impact my long-term being able to retire, for example? That's when you're kind of both partnering in the journey together. And a lot of people do call themselves financial advisors, but you want to look for somebody that has a CFP designation, where they specialize in financial planning. They're not looking to sell you something. It's about really helping you invest in yourself for down the road. That's really key. And that's what we do really well at Meridian Credit Union. We have this fantastic site on our website, which is www.meridiancu.ca, called Her Sense, and it's all about educating women. And there's things on budgeting, long-term planning. It's not product focused at all. It's just around giving women the tools to either help them or their loved ones along this wealth journey.
Well, you sold me with that stat. I am blown away by that. I think that's absolutely incredible. Uh, I am looking for a financial advisor in the new year. In fact, no, maybe I'll start now. I'm going to start now. Forget January. I'm going to take my own advice. Nancie, I can't thank you enough. This was really great information. I hope it, gets people to calm down a little bit and press the pause button before they go and spend recklessly in that last little window before Christmas, and give some thought to how that snowballs into the new year. Thanks so much for joining me, and we'll see you again next year.
Sounds good. Happy holidays.